Howdy guys, this is Bailey O'Brien. It's January 30th, 2019, and this is the last of my year-long recordings of events in my life during the years 2010, 2011. And I did not record everything, but I got several videos done of what was going on. And this one is basically brings us back to the beginning of the major changes that started in my life in January 2011. It was sometime early to mid-January that I was with my teammates in Hawaii for a training trip, and I was training but not fully able, to do everything. I wasn't diving because I had still a lot of weakness in my shoulder and my neck from my surgery that September and October. My right arm was really weak. But I was working out and hoping to grow in my strength and be able to compete again that semester. And I was just a couple days into my trip when I felt this little lump under my chin, and I thought maybe it's part of normal anatomy. So I asked my friends if they had the bump under their chins, and they felt under their chins and mine, and they're like, "No, that's unique to you." And I thought, okay, well, with everything I had been through with cancer, every little lump and bump is a concern. So I called my mom and talked to her about it, and she said, "Let me call your doctor." And she did, because I was still kind of childish. Well, anyway, my mom was still kind of in control of my medical treatments. And she called me back, said the doctor said it could wait. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So I was actually trying to stay on an organic diet when I was in Hawaii with my teammates, and it was very challenging. I was trying to find like grass-fed or organic meat and organic vegetables. And I remember I was in my hotel room. We had these little kitchenettes where we could make our food, and well, first of all, it was a struggle to have time on the oven or on the stovetop because there were several different people making their food. And of course, I felt, I even forgot about this. I felt a little bit, not alienated, but I felt really lonely about it because nobody was trying to do what I was trying to do. And it seemed like nobody really cared about what I was doing. And I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing if I were them, and I have done that before. So no hard feelings there, but it was really hard, and I was struggling. I was trying to enjoy myself, but I was still pretty stressed out. So anyway, we get back from the trip. We land in Boston, and the first thing we did was go to practice at the pool. And I remember walking into the locker room and crying because I was so tired. I was so tired, and I felt like I was beaten down, and how much more of this can I take? Because I had cancer. I'd had cancer a couple of years before, and then it returned, and I mean, my surgeon missed the cancer in the first surgery, so then I had to wait, and I had another surgery, and there were not just one, but 2 tumors in that surgery. I lost part of my ear. I had major paralysis in my face, and I had this weakness in my arm, and my life expectancy had gone down dramatically. Instead of thinking I had a long life to live, the amount of time my doctor expected me to have free of cancer before another recurrence and probably death was 3 to 5 years. And here I was, just a couple weeks after finishing my treatments, and I might have it again. So, my teammates came around me, and they're like, "Yeah, this really, really stinks. It's like, we're here with you. We understand that this is pretty awful, what it could be. But no matter what happens, we are here for you." And that meant so much to me. That's really what meant the most, regardless of my health outcome. So they gave me the strength to pack up my bag again and go back to New York and go meet my family. I think it was my mom and sister, maybe my grandma was there, and see my oncologist, one of my oncologists, and she biopsied. She took a needle and, poked it in there and dug around a little bit to get a good sample. And she said she'd come back with the results. And praise God, I've never gotten results so quickly. But it was the cancer again. And I was just shocked. And just at that point I felt kind of numb, and I was upset. I felt bitter and frustrated that after everything I'd been through, it was like it had all been for nothing, and there it was again, back at square one, or worse off than when I started everything. And at that time, my mom and my mom's friend had started talking to my mom about alternative therapies, and we hadn't really been open to that before. We started to go a little bit in that direction when I had that recurrence, and I started seeing an integrative oncologist. And she's the one who recommended the organic diet, which was high in protein but also high in vegetables, low in carbohydrates. And because I had no other options, we were open to it. So what happened at that point is my oncologist said I needed a scan right away. So she ordered an emergency CT scan, which I had that night. Again, praise God, I didn't have to wait very long. That was unusual, but a nice break. And yeah, my mom and my sister were with me, and well, the next day happened to be the first day of the spring semester of classes, so my sister, who was amazing through this experience, she was like, well, I'll drive you. So I was like, really? I mean, she was working, but she took the time off to drive me. We left at 4 in the morning, and it's crazy, but I made it back for my 8 a.m. class, and I went to my classes, and it was really weird because I was kind of going into it like, I don't know how much longer, if I'm going to finish the semester or what's going to happen. I even had this group project in my intro to management class, and like it was pretty awkward, but I was like, guys, I have to tell you something, which is going to sound really crazy. But I have stage 4 terminal cancer, and I don't know if I'm going to be here to finish these projects with you, because we're researching treatments, and I might have to pack up and go, So they were like, I mean, you can imagine what do you say to someone who says that? They were obviously very shocked. And so, we kept meeting, and then eventually I did have to drop out of my classes, and writing those notes to my professors was awkward also. I mean, I didn't want them to cry over it or anything. But I was grateful for the professors who were like, yeah, we could, don't worry about it. You can, let us know when you're back, and then you can finish your coursework. So that was cool. One of them didn't ever email me back. But anyway, so yeah, this is what was going on this time of year 8 years ago. I actually ran into my ex-boyfriend too, and that was another awkward situation. Like, oh hey, yeah, I have stage 4 cancer and I might die, by the way. I know that was upsetting to him, but he didn't know what to say at that time either, but he was like, I'm so sorry, and I'll be praying for you, or something like that. Yeah, so we started researching, and I went to the Cancer Treatment Center of America in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they had the biggest snowstorm in a long time. They had 14 inches of snow, and usually they get like half an inch or something. And there's a naturopathic doctor who I met with, and it was the funniest thing. He was like, with a straight face, he was like, I had to go out and buy a shovel. My mom and I started laughing. He's like, what's going on? Yeah, it was crazy. The temperature when we got there was like 80 or upper 70s, and then over the next couple days it dropped dramatically down to like in the teens or maybe the 20s. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. So found nothing there that was encouraging to me. The first doctor there said you should get surgery on the tumors that are operable, radiation to the others, and also chemotherapy. And I was like, okay, so that'll get me, what, about 2 years? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm not interested. I don't want to die a painful, horrible, depressing death. I'd rather either do nothing or do something else. And of course, I didn't say it in the most gentle, peaceable, respectful way. So she wasn't like, oh no, like, you should really reconsider. She was a little more like bitter about it. So I mean, I understand. So we left there finally after a week, maybe 6 days, and oh gosh, we were there during my sister's birthday, and on her birthday, I think it was her birthday, she got engaged, and she sent a picture to me, and I started jumping up and down on the bed, and my grandma and my mom were like, what? And I was like, she got engaged. So that was awesome. And I think I might have texted my brother-in-law or something and was like, I'm sorry, like, if you were doing this for me, but I'm really happy for you guys, and can't wait to be there at the wedding. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to do. I wanted to be there for their wedding and be there for for their kids. And I mean, this is about where this section of my story ends. You could go back and watch my video from last year, from February. Yeah. So if you are going through your own stage 4 diagnosis, you can see that I can understand the emotions behind it, and all of that stuff. But God brought me through that time, and I'd started praying, asking, well, I went to visit my old diving coach from high school, and he asked me some hard questions, which I wasn't super thrilled about at the time, but I appreciate it more now. He said, if you let's we're hoping and praying that you'll get better, but let's say you don't. Do you know if you're going to heaven? And I rolled my eyes and I said, I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. Or I said, I don't know if I'm going to hell. I'll find out when I get there. And he was like, but like, for me, how can you not look at the human body and see God, his handiwork? He says, the human eye is such a crazy miracle. There are a million nerve endings, that come out from the eye that need to match perfectly a million other connections, from the other side. It's not by chance that happens, that those connections are all made perfectly. If one goes awry, then, you can't see. Can't see properly. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, but it wasn't enough for me. So, he's like, all right, well, how can I pray for you? So I said, I thought about it a little while. I was like, that's a good question. And I told him, please pray that I make the right decision around my treatments and what to do. So he's like, okay, I can do that. So that was maybe the first step in my spiritual part of this section of the journey.